sure it continues to be good weather because it helps us turn out our friends, our family, our neighbors, the people who are going to decide the outcome of this election. Driving in, we saw the kids playing Little League football out here, which was really cool. Reminded me of taking our young boys and daughter to play soccer and basketball and all the sports and activities that they would do on a Saturday morning. And it just makes me feel good to see you all here. We've been at this for the better part of a year. We've been at this for the better part of 5 years, honestly. If you think back to 2017, when so many of you helped us run that historic race for the United States Senate. And we went everywhere, talked to everybody, wrote nobody off, took nobody for granted, and helped to produce the largest voter turnout in Texas history going back to 1970. That was in the 2018 race. That's the foundation upon which we are building right now. The last year of doing exactly the same thing, of being there for everyone and making sure that we bring in these voters that Representative Wu was just talking about. Those who've been written off before, those who've been counted out, those who've been absolutely forgotten, whose voices we haven't heard, whose votes have never been cast and so they've never been counted, who haven't had a say in where this state is headed. And I think that explains more than anything else why we are where we are today. I'm sure you have friends and family members outside of Texas who ask you, what the hell is going on in your state? You have the most extreme abortion ban in America without exception for rape or incest or really functionally, effectively, the life of the woman. Gun violence is now the leading cause of death for children and teenagers in the state, and we lead the country in school shootings. You have a grid in the energy capital of the world, it still doesn't work. And when the lights and the heat and the water went out February of 2021, more than 700 of our fellow Texans lost their lives. And we're all now paying higher electricity bills as a result, $45 more per month on average. And we're no better prepared going into this next winter than we were the winter of 2021. And I was just meeting with a group of great educators, school teachers, counselors, librarians. We are seeing the largest exodus of teaching and education talent in this state's history. Young women and young men who have taken on tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt for the privilege of teaching and taking care of and making sure our kids reach their maximum potential, who are now leaving the classrooms and the counselor's office and the libraries because they just cannot take it anymore. And then this, lastly, at the root of all this is our democracy and the fact that it is harder to vote here in the state of Texas than it is anywhere else in the union today. It gets back to my original point. What we have right now that I just described is not a reflection of us or of our state, but a badly broken democracy that doesn't reflect the will of the people that it's supposed to serve. That's where we all come in. The only way to overcome this is with our democracy, reaching out to those who should be voting in this election, but who will not, mark my words, if we don't reach out to them first. Number one reason given by the millions of our fellow Texans who didn't vote in the 2020 election. I mean, for me, that was a crystal clear choice. Whether you voted for Trump, whether you voted for Biden, it couldn't have been more different. It couldn't have been more consequential. And yet nearly 7 million of our fellow Texans who were eligible to didn't cast a ballot. When asked, their number one reason is no one invited them to vote. No one knocked on their door. No one called them. No friend or family member, classmate, or colleague reached out to them and reminded them of the stakes of that election. We got to learn from what happened in 2020.
It's okay.
Apply that lesson in 2022. It is so great that all of us are out here to vote today, and many of us have already voted, that it will be so much better and in fact necessary for us to reach out to those in our lives who otherwise might not cast that ballot. I'm asking you, if you're able to sign up with our campaign to knock on the doors of those who are the targets of voter suppression, voter intimidation, who probably without a knock on their door or a phone call or a text aren't going to vote. Rocio, who's got this clipboard right here, will gladly take your name to sign you up to knock on those doors. 10 days left. So I'm not asking for the world from you. I'm asking for a little bit of time over these next 10 days to do all we can with what we have, where we are, to make sure that we win that. In addition, y además, if you can, while we're here today, take a picture, post that picture on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and make sure that you caption it before you leave here with what brought you out here in the first place, why this election is important to you. Because there's a good chance that those who are going to vote in this election or might vote in this election won't see our TV ads, won't come out to a park like you all did today and get to hear from me directly, won't have the time because they're working too hard, raising their kids, taking care of their folks, to really pay attention. But they see a picture of you with me or with Janet or with Jean on their social media feed, and they say, you know what, I trust this person, my family member, my classmate, my colleague, and they're standing with these candidates. I'm going to stand with them as well, and I'm going to vote. And when they read why you came out in your own words from your own heart, I think it only becomes that much more compelling. If we all do that over the next 10 days, exponentially throughout the rest of the state as we gather in all these different polling places, we're going to win this election. But it is going to take that kind of effort from all of us. And when we do, there is no stopping us in the good things that we're going to achieve. Restoring a woman's right to make her own decisions about her own body, prioritizing the lives of our kids over the interests of the NRA, ensuring those educators know that we have their backs, paid enough not to work a second or a third job, and returning valuable classroom time to them by canceling the STAR test in the state of Texas so they can focus on those children.
What about reparations for DOAS people, Mr. O'Rourke?
And then I want to make sure that we do common sense, bipartisan things like expand Medicaid, which most of us can agree on, so that we're no longer the least insured state in the United States of America.
Reparations for DOAS people, Mr. O'Rourke.
I'm happy to answer your question. Let me finish my comments, and I'd be happy to talk with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Most of us can agree on it would take us from being 51st in the nation in the ability to see a mental health care provider, where we are going to our county jails more than anywhere else to get that kind of treatment, to having hundreds of thousands of new jobs added, tens of billions of dollars coming back to the state, and lowering our property taxes in the bargain. We can do these things, but we've got to win this election first. So I thank you for being here with us. I thank you for committing to doing your part over the next 10 days. And I thank you for the victory that we are going to win together. Thank you all for coming out. Really appreciate it. I look forward to taking a picture and saying hello. Cynthia would like us to take a group picture if you all are willing. And
I'm a lineage of DOAS, FBA people, those black people here in America who are not immigrants, who are descendants of the people that actually built this country.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what is your agenda for those of us here within the state, because as you know, 33% of black folks in this state are homeless. In places like California, it's over 50%. We have the biggest wealth gap that you've seen here within this country.
Yeah.
Not to mention that you have many of us that can't get jobs, and it's a very dire situation that's here. We're not immigrants. Everything that your colleague Mr. Wu said, there was a bill that was just passed earlier during the Biden administration that made Asian Americans a protected class of citizens here in America. Black people in this country need the same exact thing. So I'm just curious. There's certain things about your campaign I've actually heard that I actually like, but I'm curious, what is your agenda for those of us who are here as DOAS black people?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Thanks for coming out. So first thing, I want to make sure that the facts are known and taught in our schools.
Yeah.
And so this attack on history, this attack on the truth, this attack on the stories of some Texans, to the benefit of other Texans, and really to the loss for all Texans of understanding how we got to where we are, including what you just said earlier, which is there are those who were kidnapped, brought here against their will, and forced to build the strength and success and wealth of this state without ever being able to participate or partake in what they had made possible. There's the extraordinary gap in wealth, in home ownership, in our incarceration rates in this state, all of which must be addressed. Just to look at home ownership, I think that white Texans in Houston are 3 times as likely as black Texans in Houston to be able to own a home. Not only is that a problem for building equity and intergenerational wealth, it makes it harder to start a small business if you don't have collateral against which to borrow, like a home. So small business formation is imperiled by that. What's the answer? It means getting more capital out into the community, working with local banks, making the most of tax credit financing programs at the statewide level. I mentioned incarceration. We know that the school to prison pipeline can begin as young as 5 years old in a kindergarten classroom, where a black child is 5 times as likely as a white child to be disciplined, suspended, expelled, or punished for the same infraction in front of the same teacher. So intentionally making sure that we are recruiting more educators who look like the students in front of them. And I'm specifically talking about more black men in the front of these classrooms, providing that extraordinary level of education that we should want. Making marijuana legal, and then not only doing that, but realizing that though all Texans of all races and ethnicities use that substance at the same rate, disproportionately it is black and brown Texans who are stopped, frisked, arrested, incarcerated, and forced to hold that on their record
So we're gonna have to wait after that.
All right.
for the rest of their lives. So expunging that record is incredibly important for possession of marijuana so that folks can get on with their lives. So there are a number of things, from education to home ownership to the criminal justice system to entrepreneurship, that we must do a better job on, and I'm committed to doing that as governor.
Okay.
All right, the judge.
Okay.
We're gonna bring you, and then you can wait. No,
just
sir.
one
We have
last
a long,
thing,
we have a long line. Everybody's waiting.
And I'll be done.
I'll hear
Just one last thing, I'll be done. So, because you mentioned, black and brown. We have issues that are specific to us, and nobody else is here within this country. Because once again, we're not immigrants. We're not. We're the only group of people that were brought here against our will, and we have not been compensated for it. HR 40, as you know, is just a study. It's not. It has nothing to do with.
I co-sponsored it in Congress.
Yeah,
Sheila Jackson Lee is the author of that bill, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but it's a study. It doesn't commit to anything in terms of dealing with the issue of reparations. There has been studies that have been done by Dr. Paul Anderson, by Sandy Darity, and others that are out there. So I just say that that this is the largest state with the largest concentration of FBA people. If you want our support, you need to look at reparations very, very seriously, sir. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
I appreciate you coming out and asking the questions.
All right, take care.
Appreciate you.